Your private medical history is supposed to be just that, private, right? But what happens when some outside party wants a look? Who gets access? What do they actually get to see? And maybe most importantly, what control do you really have over it? Well, let's break down how this all works. So, imagine this. You've applied for life insurance, and the company turns around and asks your doctor for your health records. It's a pretty standard request, but it brings up a huge question. Do they get to see your entire history? Every little thing? Let's dig into how that's actually handled. Okay, so at the heart of this whole thing, you've really got three players in the game. There's you, there's your doctor, and then there's a third party. Could be an insurer, a lawyer, or even a welfare agency. And they're the ones making the request for your data. Now look, these organizations often have a perfectly legitimate reason to ask for this info. They needed to do their jobs, like assessing an insurance claim or handling a legal case. But that immediately creates this tension, this conflict with your fundamental right to privacy. So the system has to strike a balance. And it does that with a really clever distinction. The solution, the thing that makes this all work, really lies in a crucial difference that, honestly, most people just aren't aware of. It's all about understanding what a medical record is versus what a medical report is. So here it is, the key difference. Think of your medical record as the entire unabridged encyclopedia of your health history. It's the whole shebang, every consultation, every note, every little detail. But a medical report? That's more like a specific chapter or even just a one-page summary written to answer very direct questions. It's a targeted piece of information, not the whole story. And this right here is the golden rule for protecting your privacy. Only share what is strictly relevant. That is exactly why the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners, that's the RACGP, strongly recommends that doctors provide a targeted report instead of just handing over your entire unfiltered medical history. So who decides what gets shared? Who's in charge here? Well, that brings us to the most important person in this entire process, you. Everything, and I mean everything, hinges on the power of your consent. Let's be crystal clear about this. Nothing happens without your say-so. A doctor is not allowed to release a report, or any part of your record for that matter, without your explicit consent. You are the gatekeeper of your own information, period. Of course, like with any rule, there are some very rare exceptions. In a legal situation, a court can issue something called a subpoena, which is a formal order that legally forces your doctor to produce documents. But you've got to understand this is a very specific legal process. It is not the standard way information is requested. And the really good news here is that the consent process has gotten so much stronger over the years. Back in 2019, after a big inquiry into the insurance industry, the RACGP and the Financial Services Council worked together to create a brand new process, one that's designed to give you way more control over what gets shared. It's called the two-authority system, and it's pretty smart because it puts privacy first. With Authority 1, you only give permission for a specific, tailored report. And crucially, this does not include your doctor's private consultation notes. An insurer can only move on to Authority 2 to ask for the full record if that first report is super late or incomplete. So the system's default setting is to protect your privacy, not expose it. Okay, but what about the person in the middle of all this, your doctor? They aren't just a source of information. They are bound by a really strict ethical code to act as a guardian of that information. It's not like they're just winging it. In Australia, doctors have to follow a guide called Good Medical Practice, which is put out by the Medical Board of Australia. This document spells out the exact rules for how they have to handle requests for medical reports. And there's a line in that code that really gets to the heart of it. It says they must take reasonable steps to verify information contained in a medical report and not intentionally mislead a third party or omit information. Basically, it's their professional duty to be thorough, to be honest, and to tell the truth. So their duties are really clear. They have to be honest and stick to the facts. They need to get these reports done in a reasonable amount of time. If they're asked about something outside their area of expertise, they have to say so. And above all, their job is to protect your privacy by only including information that is directly relevant to the request. So, with all these rules and protections in place, how does one of these reports actually get put together? Let's look at the final piece of this puzzle, the actual crafting of the official report. Before a single word gets written, the doctor first has to understand exactly why the report is needed and how it's going to be used. This makes sure the final document is focused, relevant, and actually helpful. And it avoids any unnecessary oversharing of your private information.
And to make this even more efficient, the group asking for the info, like an insurance company, will often provide a structured template or a questionnaire. You might see one called a personal medical attendance report, or a PMAR. This structure just helps the doctor provide exactly what's needed, no more and no less.
When you really boil it all down, your GP stands as a careful, professional steward, a guardian, really, of your most sensitive information. They're the ones who navigate the requests, apply their ethical code, and work within the consent that you provide, all to protect your interests. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that the entire system, from that key distinction between a record and a report to the power of your consent, all the way to the doctor's ethical code, it is all a meticulous, professional process that's been designed from the ground up to protect you. So, we're left with this thought. Your medical history is your personal story. And thanks to systems like these, you have more power than ever to decide exactly who gets to read it.